Sunday, January the 4th, 2026. We are back as another episode of the Golden V podcast with Steve Ewen from Vancouver Province and Postmedia on the heels of a Giants 5-4 loss last night to Portland Winterhawks, where they gave up a late power play goal to Portland. Steve, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
So we were talking about this off the air, and you said they are who they are, but three straight losses, obviously. I was at December 19th game against Victoria, which was a complete piece of confusion to me after playing so well the previous night against the Cougars and beating them in Victoria. Obviously, then following it up with some wins, but now three straight losses. What is this team?
I think they have a lot of pieces. They have a lot of potential.
Yeah.
But we've been saying this for the last 2 or 3 years. They are the numbers are the numbers, and they have trouble playing collectively, consistently, and they've shown at points that they can beat any team in this league. They've also shown at points that they might need a shakeup. So I think with the trade deadline coming Thursday, I wouldn't be surprised to see some moves coming.
So who's going to move then? I mean, do you move a guy Cameron Schmidt? I mean, what's his point?
I think outside of Ryan Lynn, I think everything is in play. I think that's the one untouchable guy right now. I think everything else is obviously there's the younger guys you can't trade, the 16-year-olds. But other than that, I think everything is always kind of an option now. I think they've disappointed. I think they're better than what they've shown, but I think we've said that before as well.
Yeah, because I went to the game November 15th as well, and I listened to the post-game comments. For the November 5th game, they lost 7-4 to the Oil Kings, right? And I mean, that game, that Oil Kings team is one of the best teams in the WHL. Where are they sitting right now in the East, the Oil Kings? Because I didn't check, but...
They're top three.
Top three. Yeah. I remember Bill Wilms' post-game comments that, at that point in time, they played good games against Everett and Edmonton, and that they had potential, especially with Schmidt, Obafayo, and Ty Haliburta, could function as a pretty good line for this team. I don't know what happened to that particular combination, but now it looks like it's Haliburta, Schmidt, and I was trying to find it here. Who's the third player on that line?
It's very. I think we've seen all sorts of different combinations up front there.
So basically, Schmidt's got a 20-game point streak, 34 points. 60 points on the season. Even a guy like Schmidt is in play. Obviously, Haliburta, his recent milestone, for the team in terms of where he sits now in points. One of the things I keep seeing pop up in the game summaries that I'm reading is goaltending. Obviously, Hood and Pine. I mean, Pine in a recent game, 55 saves on 61 shots, or 60 shots.
I think there's nights where the goaltending carries them. I think there's nights where the goaltending isn't what it needs to be. I think there's nights. I think this team doesn't check particularly well consistently. I think that's maybe if you wanted to give them one tag, that one sentence of why they've struggled, I think that would be it. I think that I think the power play has a tendency to be good. There's been times where I thought you make two significant adds to this team and maybe you got a chance, but I also, there's been enough nights where they haven't been consistent enough that I wonder if it's not, if that would be a waste, if you would be, I don't know if they played well enough consistently enough to spend trade capital to make significant additions.
I think that makes sense. I mean, everybody's on the block, right? It sounds like, except for Ryan Lynn. So even if you're moving Cameron Schmidt, you're doing that. You're moving a guy like Ty Haliburta even.
I think as a 20-year-old, I think you need to look at where you're going and what you want to do. And I don't know I think if you were, I thought they would have finished top four this year in the West,
Right.
and obviously that's not, that's a ways off from happening, and they would need to go on a bit of a run. I think if you got a good offer for Halliburton, and he's been such a good team guy for so many years here and done so many
Yeah.
things so well that maybe he deserves a chance to, if a team called and that you knew was going on a playoff run and asked about him, I think you'd have to consider it.
Yeah, because it just like we said, like that Victoria game, December 19th, they just had absolutely nothing. Like as soon as I saw that game start, the first period, I didn't think either team was great. The second
Yes.
period, I was just like, oh, this is
I just think
you
that, yeah,
know,
I just think that they're they're a frustrating group in a lot of ways, because I think if you put them up again, you put their roster on paper against other rosters on paper, you would think that they would be farther along. So
well, yeah, because then they go and they beat the Kamloops Blazers, who aren't a great team, but back on December 28th, right?
mhm.
They Schmidt gets a hat trick. It's a 7-3 win. That was their second game back after the Christmas break, right?
Mhm.
Like,
No, I just, but I think we've seen that through the last 2 or 3, even 4 years, where it's been a group where you've seen spurts, but not consistent spurts.
yeah,
So I ideally you would get in a situation where you could. I think trading for draft picks isn't what they. I think ideally what they would like to do would be to trade 19-year-old guys for 17-year-old guys, and kind of speed, put themselves in a spot to be competitive next year. Because
right.
trading for draft picks, you're talking 2 years.
Like,
So I think if you could end up bringing in players that will be here next year, I just don't know a team that's going for it. I don't think wants to trade. A team that's going for it doesn't want to trade away their 17 and 18-year-old guys, because they're part of why they're going for it. So there's some challenges.
yeah, and I guess it's like where they even move one of their goalies, but they just acquired Pine this year, right?
I think Pine, as a 20-year-old, I think is available. Hood is less so. I don't. It's a big change now in terms of planning out your team, because there's that whole NCAA option now,
Yeah, we talked.
where,
Remember that back
I
in September.
mean, Victoria lost guys they didn't think they were going to lose. Vancouver did, at the trade deadline, didn't think they were going to lose Mazden Leslie or Colton Roberts, and they ended up losing both those guys. Although Mazden ended up coming back to Kelowna. So I think you need to be real cognizant of thinking about the here and now, and very kind of short term planning. Right?
Right. So the obviously trade deadline. We've talked about the recent games. What are the positives around this team? I mean, because you can't
Well, I
just
think
get
there's a lot. I think
you know.
Cameron Smith alone is worth the price of admission. Ryan Lynn is worth
I would agree with that.
the price of admission. I think to look at a guy like Ty Halliburton, who's and his body of work over his career, I think is very, very encouraging. There, there's some younger guys as well that are fun to watch. I think some of the, I think it's a fun level of hockey, and to see the progression of guys, and look at where guys, Adam Tittleback coming off what's been a decent World Juniors for him, but when he gets back, so there's lots of individual talent there that's worth watching, and I think it's going to be a fun ride for the Western Conference. It's going to be fun to watch what Kelowna does, and fun to watch what Victoria does after what everything they've been through, losing players, and the Prince George Cougars, I think, have overachieved this year. So there's fun teams coming through. I think there's lots of reasons to go watch. I just don't think you can. I don't think you can look at this Vancouver year and say it hasn't been less than what people hoped for.
Yeah, yeah, we said that, and we've talked about consistency so much, even last year. But then
Yes.
they changed coaches in the off season, obviously. Manny Vieira's in here.
Mhm.
Barclay Parnetta's gone. So this is Parker Burgess's first year, obviously, in Nat Dominicelli's first year. So I don't think you're changing management or coaching after one season, are you?
I don't think so. I mean, I think there was going out and getting a coach who hadn't coached at this level before, and getting a GM who hadn't been a GM at this level before. I think is a choice, and that where you have to be patient. I also think that across the board, the organization thought they'd be farther along. So I think they're gonna. I think everything's in play. I don't think you can discount anything.
Mm. And obviously, they've got a 15-year-old player in Louis Oscar Hollowaychuk. What are we looking at there?
I think I think all all their young guys uh, are decent. Holiday he's decent. Matejchuk is decent. I think they're all good. They've got good talent coming. I think they've drafted well. I think it's about figuring out a way to put the pieces together, and good teams learn how to win, and this group hasn't won a lot, so I think they need to find ways to create that identity, to become harder to play against. I think that's if they're there's again, if you're looking at real baseline sentences and thoughts, this group isn't hard enough to play against, and they give up too many good opportunities. I think that's a challenge. So finding guys that fit that mold, and coaching them up to fit that mold is something that they're gonna have to work on.
Yeah, because I don't really know if there's much else you could say at this point. We've been chatting for a bit. I mean, do you think this season? I wouldn't call it a write off, but they seem to be slipping.
I wouldn't call it a write off, but I think they need to. I think they need to get some things done at the trade deadline. I think they need to figure out next steps, and in terms of what they want to be and create that identity. I think you look at a team like the Penticton V's, they
Mm.
have that hardworking, gritty identity, and that's something they've managed to get right away with as an expansion team. So
Mm.
it's doable. It's you can create those beliefs. I think it's about creating them and about figuring out uh, what's next, and who the who are they bringing along for the ride, and if they're making moves, what type of can they get bigger and stronger on defense? Can they get harder to play against?
So it doesn't get any easier for them, right? Because the Tri City Americans come to town on Friday night. Then a home and home.
Tri City's a team that's maybe they're on the other side of the equation of teams that have maybe done better than people expected. So I think they need to move the story along. They need to be more consistent and have more consistent efforts, and they need to be harder to play against. Regardless of what the group looks like. I just think they need to create an identity, and they need to become a team that understands how to win.
Mhm. Any hope for the home at home against Wenatchee this weekend?
Lots of hope. I think Wenatchee's a team that's struggled. I think I think you need to break it down into just one game segments, and I think you need to find ways to get better, uh, really marginally all the time. I think they're to that point, and just to really create something that people want to come watch.
Mm.
It's a business, and you're trying to get buys in the seats, and the best way to get buys in seats is winning, and the best way to win is to be a hard team to play against, a team that has an identity.
I was going to say, take an adage out of the Kurt Malosky book. We'll use a lacrosse analogy. Play the game in 5-minute chunks and see what
Yeah,
happens.
and that's not just lacrosse; that's everything. But yeah, I
Yeah,
think,
but you know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
I think that I think we're mixing and matching here some big picture things, and small picture things. And I think right now they need to be very much in the small picture and very
Yeah.
looking ahead, and just being. They need to be better on Friday, regardless of what their group looks like, regardless of who's in it. And I think they need to start making strides forward of thinking about how can they get better. So,
All right. Well, thanks for doing this, Steve. We
hey,
appreciate it.
always.
We appreciate you. We'll talk to you
Hey, thanks
soon.
so much, right?
Yeah, take care.